Yeah, we are back on a very, very cold morning. It is ever freezing 30 degrees here right now. So I gotta get the truck out of the way so that I just have more room when I'm pulling stuff out of the garage, because the garage still has junk in it as usual. We'll pull the truck out and then we'll get started on the 240. But first, let's do a little cold start clip of the truck. See how nice she sounds. Nothing like the sound of freedom on a brand new New Year's Day. Well, no, it's the day after New Year's Day, so it's the 2nd of 2019. Happy New Year, everybody. We are back at it again on the 240. Check it out. How's it look? Pretty good, right? Alright. Well, today we're going to start off by basically trying to remove the rest of the front end components of the car. I'm going to start off by taking off the two front horns. So basically it's going to be a 12mm bolt and an electrical connection. Now as I take these electrical connections off, I'm going to actually be putting tape on them and labeling where each one goes, because I don't want to wind up losing where each connection goes when I pull the entire harness off the car. When I start sanding it and painting it and doing all that. Plus I'm going to pull the whole electrical harness out just because I want to check the whole harness to make sure there's no cuts, breaks, anything in the harness. If I gotta, you know, tape anything, resplice anything. Now I'm going to put these bolts back into where they went because I don't want to lose them, and any bolts I can put back that aren't going to be in the way, might as well just put back. Next I'm going to remove the line going into the front side of the condenser down here. I don't have the right size open wrench, but I believe it's a 19mm. I'm just going to use 2 adjustables and hopefully it works. Okay, so I don't know if that was supposed to happen or not, but I believe it was Freon or whatever makes it nice and cool leaked out, which is okay. So let it leak out, and then once it's done leaking out, finish undoing the connections and pull the hose right out. After that, we're going to go on the back side of the condenser, and there's 2 10mm bolts. If you can see, there's one right there, and then one on the other side as well of the condenser that you're going to pop out. Okay, next on the driver's side of the condenser, you're going to see another connector back behind here. So what we did was we loosened the 2 screws in the back, so you should be able to pull the condenser up and out, and then be able to reach that to loosen and take the whole condenser out. Yeah, I don't think that's going to come off. So what I'm going to do is actually, if you follow the line, it goes all the way back into right here, which looks like 2 10 or 12mm bolts just to remove, and you can remove the whole line right out of there. So we'll do that and take that out of this one whole piece. also going to put those bolts back in place as well. Next, I'm going to remove the fan that was in front of the condenser. So I believe there's 2 electrical connections right here, 1, 2. I believe the 10mm accessible from the top right here. And then if you look down here, there's also another 10 and another 10mm right there. Next, I'm going to continue to follow the line for the condenser. If you follow this line, if you look all the way back here, basically the line, you can shake it, it goes to this little thing right here. I don't know what this is, but there's an electrical connection that basically connects to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the electrical connection. Then it's bolted on by just, it looks like one 10mm and another one on the bottom, if you could see on that back side right there. And then if you follow it all the way back, there's also a tinier line coming out of this side. So if you follow that all the way back, it should go all the way up here. Remove the 10mm from here. Then it should be going through the firewall right there. So you can loosen that up. I would probably do that first and then remove that entire line and that entire piece for the rest of the condenser line. So right next to where we removed the first refrigerant line going through the firewall, there's a second one. And basically it runs behind the engine. And if you go to the other side, the driver's side, you can see it's being held on by a 10mm bolt there, and then another union right there onto the rest of the refrigerant that I believe goes down to the block. So I would just remove this, the 10mm, and the other side, and then we're going to try to fish it through that way towards the passenger side. Okay, you didn't see me struggle remove the piping from behind the actual engine block, but it comes out. It's not too bad, but you got to just actually wind up like spinning it out like a corkscrew. But the rest of the piping leads down here to two 12mm bolts that look like they latch in right above where we did it, where we disconnected the first piping. When we first started disconnecting the condenser. So we'll remove that piping, and that should be the rest of the system of the cooling system. Next, we're going to start by removing the headlights. So there's a couple electrical connections connected to the headlights. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove those. You have one that's on the exterior side on both headlights. Then you also are going to have one down here for the mechanism that opens and closes the headlight. So you have a connection down there. Alright, next, so once you have the wires disconnected from the headlights, and make sure you label them, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the headlight. So you're going to have this black bar. It's like a piece of plastic that goes across the top with two Phillips screws. You can remove those. Then under those Phillips screws, you're going to have two more. I already removed the passenger side, so you'll see you have two more 10mm bolts. So you're going to remove those. Then if you go down on the side, because we're going to be removing this whole piece, okay, so if you look, you have a 10mm right in there. And then it also looks like you have a 10mm underneath the light. And another one back there. So this might be a little bit of a pain, but we should be able to get it. Also, there is a ground connected to this device that lowers and raises the headlight. So I'm going to actually remove the bolt from the ground first. And then you can access the bolt that's held. Yeah, you can access the bolt that's holding to the frame. You're probably better off using a little tiny socket if you have it. Okay, sweet. So that's removed, and now you're going to repeat the same steps for the other headlamp. Awesome. And the headlights are out. The front end is starting to look really bare, guys. So basically, we got the condenser out. We got some of the lines out today. We got the headlights out. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wind up removing the hood latch, and then we're actually going to wind up putting it back on. So we're going to just remove it just to be able to take the cable out, and then we're going to put it back on because it's really not in the way of anything, but I want to be able to take the cable out when we start removing the harness and stuff. So I believe it's 2 or 3, looks like 3 12mm bolts, and you could just pop that right out. So I'm going to actually wind up just putting the bolts back in place and not returning the latch onto the car, because if you couldn't tell, the latch looked pretty grimy. So I'm going to wind up cleaning the latch, and then we'll put on the latch in the future. Okay, so I don't know if you can really tell, but I just hit it real quick. I have a little bit of steel wool. I heard if you use Simple Green, you know, like Magic Eraser, stuff like that, you can usually just clean some of this grime up. I mean, I'm going to wind up painting the whole car probably, so I wouldn't advise using steel wool if you're not going to be painting the car, because it does scratch it. But it helps get some of the gunk off. I mean, a little bit behind the scenes, I just touched it up a little bit. It's not much, but I mean, it helps, you know, feel like you got some more progress than you do, because stuff's starting to look a little cleaner. So I always try to keep your workspace clean and stuff like that. But that's going to conclude today's video. Like I said, we got the condenser out, we got some of the lines out, we got the headlights out. Next video, I'm going to wind up going through removing more of the harness. Here's the little dude. See, look at the camera. See it? So in the next video, we'll probably get into start to take apart the electrical harness, start to disconnect. There's a lot of little plastic clips and stuff that keep the electrical harness to the car. I don't think they'll be reusable because they're little shitty, crappy plastic clips. So most likely when you put the car back together, you're going to have to use you know, new connectors like that, or you know, zip ties and stuff like that. Thanks for joining us. Again, please subscribe, like the video. Any comments, any suggestions, hit me in the comments. Let me know I'm, you know, new at all this, and I hope you guys are learning with me. Stay along for the ride.